Prakarana Granthas means out of the entire gamut of philosophy which he has written, he selected the portion which are important for our own direct spiritual progress, consisting of the various spiritual practices which can be followed by one and all. And he wrote a book on those particular specific portions. So Prakarana means a specific context or a portion. So he took up certain portions, he developed it, but they were good enough for us and they are complete in themselves as far as we are concerned. One such Prakarana Grantha, the contextual dialectics, and that is Atma Bodha. Atma Bodha means the self-knowledge, the knowledge of the self. And I'll just read out the first and we'll stop. Tapo bhikshina papanam Shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshyoyam Atma bodho vidhiyate. The first shloka in any such religious text or spiritual text is supposed to give 4 items. It is called Anubandha Chatushtaya. That is, it should tell us what is the subject matter of this book. What is the use of my reading the entire thing? So I would like to see what is the subject matter. Many of us when we go to the market to read a book, on the outside we are given something short. We will like to go through it, whether it is something which is interesting enough, otherwise we will not purchase that book. So the first shloka should contain that is called the Vishaya or the object. Then, alright, how it is going to help me? Why are you writing about it? Is it going to help me? What is the prayojana? What is the purpose? What is the objective to be achieved? Then the third one is Adhikari. That is, who is qualified for this subject? Everybody can't read the book and understand it. So, who are all the people, what pre-qualifications are needed for them to understand this? So that is called the Adhikari. Then lastly, Sambandha. Sambandha means the relationship between this book, what you have written, and the subject matter. Normally there is only one type of relationship. The subject matter is revealed in this book. So this is the revealer and that is the revealed. We call it Pratipadya and the Pratipadaka. That's all. The one which reveals the subject matter, the one who reveals it. That's all. No, that's only a formal thing. So that is being revealed in it, and this we'll see tomorrow. Purpose of trying to recognize the self. Well, we have been without knowing about the self. Can't we carry on as it is? And what is the need? So, this entire knowledge as to how to cultivate that knowledge of the self, for whom is it important? Who should know about it? Well, all these things are being dealt with by the great Shankaracharya, the Adi Shankara. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam idaraginam mumukshunam apekshyoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. He says, Atma bodho vidhiyate. The author, Shankaracharya, is telling, this Atma bodha is being given to you. Vidhiyate is being given by me to you. It is being composed by me and given to you. This is why, for whom it is meant. Alright, so we know that the subject which is being done, as I told you yesterday, there are supposed to be 4 requisites before you start any text, any grantha. That is called the Anubandha Chatushtaya. First is Vishaya. What is the subject matter you are going to deal with? Well, I don't know. If it is not interesting for me, then I won't come and sit in this class. So first I should know what is the subject matter like. And secondly, this is Prayojana. What is the purpose of this subject matter? Is it going to help me in any way? Will it improve my balance sheet? Then, the third one is Adhikari. What is the qualification required for entering into this class? What are the prerequisites in qualification? So, there is Adhikari Veda. Our entire Hindu philosophy is based on the differences in the person's deservedness, that is, the quality of the antenna with which he comes to grasp the various subjects. Whether it is embryonical, whether it is mediocre size, so it depends on that. And lastly, we have got what is called the Sambandha. What is the relationship between the book and the subject matter? How does it deal with it? It's very simple. As I said, Pratipadaka, Pratipadya. It reveals the new knowledge, and that subject matter represents the revelation which is going to come out of this book. So he says, for whom this is meant? He says, Mamukshunam apekshyoyam. This book is apeksha. This is needed by those people who are desirous after moksha. People who want material prosperity, who want their promotions, who want their sons to get into the entrance examination of the MBBS or in IIT. Well, this book is not meant for them at all. This is meant for the mumukshus, people who want to get liberated, people who know that they are bound, they are all limited, they are finite. Because of their identification with the body, all the limitations of the body have been superimposed in their mind, so they consider themselves as somebody who is perishable, as one day, he is going to die. He thinks he is mortal, even though he is immortal. He thinks that his knowledge is limited, his knowledge is unlimited. He thinks that he is limited by space, he can only be at one spot at a time. No, he can be everywhere. So, this is meant for the mumukshunam. Mumuksha means moksha icha mumuksha. So, those who want to get liberated from these sorrows and hardships of this phenomenal world, such people should come to this class. And they cannot straight away, simply because they feel, well, I also want liberation, no, they can't come. There are few more qualifications. If you have got those qualifications, then you can come over here. What are those qualifications? Tapobhihi China Papana. Before coming to this class, they should have done a lot of meditation, they should have done a lot of austerities. What are the type of austerities? You see, the word tapasya is not being properly understood by many of our people. Well, some of us consider that tormenting the body, standing on nails, keeping both heads up for days together, not eating, well, these constitute tapasya or austerities. Not at all. Tapasya represents a concentrated meditation on the Lord, ignoring all material circumstances, material environments and material needs, and solely concentrating, well, in between, if it comes, he will take. Just like Bhagavan Ramana. He was not bothered about anything, he was not bothered about cutting his hair flowed like this, and he never bothered about taking his food. At last, somebody who took pity will have to go and then push some morsels of food into his mouth. And strange to say that the next day when they went, they found he has not gulped them down, they were remaining in his mouth as they were. That was the stage, he was not bothered about anything. So, tapobhihi china papanam. One should have, what are the type of tapas? Number one, in general, the scriptures have said what are all the daily minimum duties which one should do. That is, it says that you should do some prayers for the various gods, and you should feed some of the animals, the poor animals, the stray animals who can't get any food anywhere. That is called the Bhuta Yajna. Then Atiti Yajna, you should be able to get some guests. Some fellows who couldn't find any food anywhere, some sannyasi or some monk or somebody like, well, you call him and you feed him. That is called Atiti Puja. So, these are all called the Nitya Karmas. Daily certain things a person should do. They are called Pancha Yajnas. Daily a person should do 5 types of sacrifices. That is the Buddha Yajna, feeding the animals, feeding the lords by doing their worship, and feeding the Atithis, and then feeding their, they are doing, worshipping their father and mother. So all these things are all mentioned as daily duties. And these duties differ for people in various status. So accordingly one has to, if it were a king, one of his daily duties is go around and see whether his subjects are all happy or what are they lacking in. And he has to take remedial action about it. So all these constitute this tapobhi. And also it constitutes daily doing formal worship to the Lord, bringing the flowers, doing Sahasranama, doing Ashtodhara. They are also part of the tapasya. See, tapasya is wherever you are spending your time, and at that time when your mind is concentrated on that Lord, that is all tapasya. Where you are sparing some time for solely for worshipping the Lord, for thinking of Him, whether in the form of worship, whether in the form of meditation, whether in the form of daily, or you are doing daily duties. Because in your daily duties, when you are feeding the puppy, you are not feeding a puppy. Instead you feel it is a puppy Narayana who has come. You are feeding the Lord. Similarly, when a guest comes, you know that it is the Lord Himself who is coming. So, when once your attitude changes, the entire chemistry of the action changes, it gives you different results. If you had taken him as a normal man and if you have fed him, then what you get is absolutely different from what you get if only you had the attitude that it is the Lord Himself who has come to your door. So, tapobhihi, these are all the tapasya. Apart from that, Gita has given us beautifully, it has defined 3 types of austerities. The first type, it is called Shariram Tapaha. Bodily, with the body you can do some austerities. What are they? Deva Dvija Guru Prajna Pujanam Shaucha Marjanam Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Shariram Tapa Bhukshate. Do not harm anybody, not even in mind. Never think of doing any harm to anybody. Ahimsa. So, just you happen to see a scorpion, immediately you take a stone. What did it do? It has not harmed you at all. And these scorpions have been here for years. We have not heard of anybody having been harmed. So why should we be violent towards them? So if only you could see the same supreme consciousness which is in you is working there also. It is the same electricity which goes into all the bulbs here. The 0 watt, the 200 watt, the 1000 watt. So they are all inhabited by the same electricity. It is on one akhand energy. That's all. It is only the bulb which is differed. And the bulb is something inert. It is something insentient. So, and then doing daily worship of the gods, daily worship of the Guru, and these are all physical worship. These are all called physical austerities. Then Arjava, be straightforward in all the things. Never use kapata. Never try to, use all types of excuses and all that. Be always straightforward. Whatever you think, you talk. Whatever you talk, you do. That's called the straightforward method. Having something in the mind, doing something else outside. So not that. So then the other important one is Brahmacharya. See, the Brahmacharya and Ahimsa, they are all meant to protect others from you. Ahimsa, violence, it is supposed to protect the other wild animals and others from you. Similarly, it is not only towards them, even to other people, to anybody. See, even talking rudely is ahimsa. It is a violence. We don't know how sensitive that man is. For nights together, that fellow might have lost his sleep. Oh my Lord, how did he talk? How did he rebuke me? So even that is violence. Violence is not only when you beat somebody with a stick. Even talking a bit harshly and rudely, even that is considered as violence. We should eschew them. Then Brahmacharya, be a celibate. Accepting with one's own authorized pleasures, one should not move with the people of the other sex freely or intimately, and that is Brahmacharya. Then, similarly, there is another tapasya. austerities of the mount. That is Anudvegakaram Vakyam Satyam Priyahitanchayati Swadhyayabhyasananchaiva Vangmayam Tava Uchyate. These are all in the Gita. He says, never talk rudely to others. That they have classified it under. See, physical violence they have classified under physical tapasya. While the tapasya by not being rude to anybody, anudvegakaram vakyam, let it never cause even the least ripple of an agitation in the mind of the other person. That is, sometimes we may taunt a man. See, we may tell something which may not be outwardly rude, but actually, will be meaning something else which an intelligent man can understand. Well, he is hitting me. So even that we should avoid. Anudvegakaram vakyam. Always see priyahitam, that which will be beneficial to the other man, that will be pleasant to the other man. Tell only that type of words. Then satyam, it should be the truth. Then swadhyaya bhisanam. Always read good books, read philosophies, read the Vedas or the scriptures, read about the biographies or the autobiographies of great saints or the Gospels. Well, this all comes under Swadhyaya. Then the last is the mental austerity. The mental austerity is be always with equanimity. Have an equal mind at all times. Be always happy. Be always satisfied. Be always contented. That is what is called manaprasada. Then saumyatvam, always keep a pleasant exterior. Never when somebody comes because you are thinking of something else, yes, what do you want? See, don't be, rude like even in your behavior. So, always put up a pleasant face before others. Saumyatvam. Then maunam atma vinigraha. Always have control over yourself. Control of the indriyas. That is only by, it's a mental one. Because you can't control yourself unless you control the mind. You may control the hand, but still mentally you will be enjoying all those things which are forbidden for your senses. So as such, a control over the mind is equally required. Then maunam, as far as possible, be in silence. Silence is the best way of austerities. And the Bible says, be still and know that you are God. Be still. Shumma iru. This has been one of the famous sayings of Bhagavan. Shumma iru. Remain quiet. Don't talk. The eloquence of silence. So, when one has got all these things, tapo vihi chinapapanam, when you do all such austerities, then what happens? All your sins are washed off. They all get exhausted by that. Otherwise, what will happen? All these sins may not be exhausted in this birth. Some of them will be allotted to you in the next birth and the one after that. So you may have to take many births, and then these reactions will come to you in the form of various sufferings, hardships. It may be physical, it may be mental, and you will have to suffer them all. That is the result of papa or sin. So kshina papanam, if you want your ledger accounts to be straight away written off, the only way is you can do it through austerities. Tapo bihi china papanam. So such people are entitled to come for this class. They should have done some austerities, and to a large extent some of these papas, the sins which have accrued to them. See, there are two types of sins. The one is in the form of the reactions for the actions you have already done. Some bad actions done for which the reactions are yet to come, you have to suffer their consequences. That is yet to be allotted. Apart from that, every action you do, it leaves an impression, and that impression becomes your advisor for fresh actions in the next birth. And that is what is called the vasanas or the sanskara. They are known as the conditions. They are only advisors. You are a governor. A governor has got every right to overrule the advisor's advice. He may hear it and say, okay, I have heard you, I will do what I like. But most of them are so weak, and they are not aware of the entire politics. They think, oh, this secretary is an IAS officer with 30 years of service. I can't afford to ignore him. I can't understand this hard currency, soft currency he's talking about. It is better that I just sign on the dotted place. That's all. That's what they do. So, it is very essential that we have to take away those vasanas. The vasanas mean the past impressions. If in the previous birth I have been accustomed to go to the casino and play the roulette table for hours together and then lose my money, automatically this habit comes in the next birth and the next birth with redoubled vigor. And the only way in which you can wipe off all these impressions from your computer memory, where chitta, see, they all go from birth to birth. Even though the specific things may not be there, the general habits or the impressions, they get embedded in the chitta, the computer memory of an individual. So that has to be taken away. That can be exhausted only through tapasya. So tapo bihi chinapapanam shantanam. When once, as I told you, the one which induces you to the future actions by inducing desires in you, by provoking desires in you, it is these conditionings. It is these impressions or the latent tendencies of the previous births. And once you have removed them all, once you have broken your computer memory, it contains nothing, it is a clean slate, then what happens? Your mind is in absolute peace. There is nothing to disturb it. There is nothing which can cause the least ripple on surface. So, Shantanam. Whenever this happens, they are in absolute peace. I mean, these are relative peace. This is not ultimate peace. This is not absolute peace. It is likely that sometimes such a situation might come, even such people, because he has not attained the highest knowledge. These are only the preparatory qualifications which a man has got. Even at the preparatory level, he has to acquire a reasonably peaceful mind. So, Shantana. The last is Vitaraginam. Raga Dvesha should have gone away from him. Even though he has mentioned the Raga, the Dvesha also comes. What is Raga? Raga means attachment. Ragi means the one who is attached to things, saying this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this child is mine, this grandson is mine, this transistor is mine, these cassettes are mine. So a man who claims the relationship of possession, the man who has got a sense of possession, the possessive nature towards things, well, that is going to cause all the trouble. Because whenever he loses or whenever he goes out of order, well, he gets agitated. So, Vitaraginam, the attachment should go, not only the attachment. It is more important that you entertain no hatred, no ill will towards anybody. However much he might have harmed you, however deeply he might have insulted you or injured you, you should be able to forgive him. It is not only forgiving, absolutely you should be able to love him. That is very essential. In external harmony is a synchronon for internal harmony. You cannot get your meditation, you cannot get your mind concentrated on the Lord. Otherwise, in between, you'll be going on thinking of the day when somebody insulted you before your boss in an open conference. With that rascal, you will be again reliving that experience and gnashing your teeth, and thus you are going to be again re-experiencing all those udvegas, all those ripples of anger and hatred. So it is essential that one should get rid of hatred, one should get rid of attachment. See, the one is positive, the other is negative. The one is the repulsion, the other is the attraction. See, both we should get over and we should go beyond them. So when these requisites are there for them, if they want to go further to the level of getting the self-knowledge, those who want that they should get liberated once for all, they should never have these very many returns to this world. Such people, see, every birthday we are asking for very many returns. In fact, we should avoid it. Otherwise, with so many goodwill wishes, you will get it. Mumukshunam apekshoyam. So it is very much needed for these people, and that is why this Atma Bodha is being given to you, the self-knowledge, and now this knowledge is called the indirect knowledge. What happens to this indirect knowledge? Now this indirect knowledge tells you that this world is all false, it is just like a dream, and this body is part of this world. So as if we are not the body, we are that superconscious, that eternal absolute. All these things, if it tells, going on thinking of it, thinking of it, thinking of it, your mind will leave all other thoughts of any other objects of the world. Already you have got rid of your attachments. Already you have got rid of your hatreds. Already you have got rid of all the various vasanas. Now, actually you are in a position to absolutely concentrate on this Brahman. So then what happens is, you get an indirect knowledge. It is a knowledge which goes on continuously. That is, your thoughts are continuously on it, in some way or the other. That is called the Vritti Jnana. It is called the Brahmakara Vritti. That is, all your thoughts are now solely circulating in and around the Lord, in and around the Supreme Consciousness, in and around the Brahman. And that is finally going on doing like that. You know what will happen? This Vritti Jnana, when it is continuously there and you don't think of anything else, at one time it will be able to do suicide along with, after killing your Ajnana also. That also disappears. Those things will be coming in future. So this Vritti Jnana just disappears along with your ignorance. Once it goes, what remains is that which always remains, Uladu. That's all. That which remains, that which is the being, that which is the highest consciousness, that which is Brahman, that alone is left. It need not be acquired, it is always present. But only thing is, it has been covered. So the covering is ignorance. Whenever that covering called ignorance is removed, what is inside, it shines by its own effulgence. It shines by its own luminosity. So, now we come to the next one. Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshaika sadhanam pakasya manhivatyanam vina moksho na siddhyati. The question is raised by a disciple, sir, you say that in order to get liberation, I am going to give you the knowledge of the self. But I am told there are several other paths. Why did you choose this path? There is a Karma Yoga, there is Kundalini Yoga, there is other Patanjali Yoga, what is known as the Ashtanga Yoga. I have heard of ever so many methods. So, what is the speciality in this direct knowledge of the self? He says very clearly, just like our Bhagavan. You see, not only Bhagavan, the Vedas, Adi Shankara, all these people have repeatedly told which leaves no doubt at all, no quarters for doubt, even though there are many of our intelligentsia who still say that Karma Yoga is the ultimate. By Karma Yoga alone we can reach the highest. Well, they have got their own axe to grind perhaps. I wouldn't like to go into it. But the Vedas very clearly say, Na karmana na prajajadhane na tyage naike namrtatvama nachu. Every day you might have seen at the end of everything else, they repeat it over here. Nakarmana, no amount of rituals, you do any rituals, any sort of Chandi Homa, this Homa, that Homa, you can't get moksha. But then why do we do? We do it for the welfare of all the people, so that number one, by doing it, the Chitta Shuddhi takes place. Many of these people who have got various types of desires, various types of greed, avarice, and all sorts of bad vasanas, that will be removed when you do such collective sadhanas like the Chandi Homa, Shri Vidya Homa and all these things. But they are not the direct equipment for obtaining the liberation, not at all. They are indirect in this sense. They initially endow you with the Chitta Shuddhi, the purification of the mind, which is the desideratum for obtaining the moksha. So, then we told about that. Then, from the first and the second stanza of Upadesha Sara, Bhagavan has, you see, Bhagavan is one who never condemns even in the slightest way where it looks like a condemnation. He never condemns anything. But he knows pretty well that we people are all so fond of rituals. Rituals have got a meaning. Yes, they are very essential in the initial stage. But don't stop there. We have to go beyond it. Don't think that rituals alone can take us to the final stage. Well, they are very much required. They are very much required in the sense, they clean the place. But what is the use of cleaning the place daily for your 90 years without calling the VIP? You are cleaning the house only for that purpose. So the VIP is the Lord. He has to be brought. So cleaning it alone won't do. There should be a day when you should stop it and you should try to find out a method of inviting the VIP. That is essential. So, Bhagavan has clearly told, Kritimaho tadhau patana karanam phalamashashvatam gati nirodhakam. In very clear terms he says, look here, if you are going to be involved only in karmas, gati nirodhakam, you will not be able to go ahead, you will be lost. And Bhagavan, it's very, very rare to see him so emphatically talking about something else, about karmas. But he is very strong about it because from the very beginning of the days, from the Shankara's days and earlier, most of us were always enraptured about the rituals. Because the other thing being more less concrete and more abstract, this jnana and all that, so we try to catch hold of something which is easier for us to do, but the easier for us to do may not be the one which will take us to our goal. That's why. Yes, Karma Yoga is very essential. Essential in the beginning, when you have to see, most of us are all selfish. We want only for ourselves, our families and everything. So in order to take yourself out of this center, a center which is only moving around your own family and yourself, and in order to expand it towards others, Karma Yoga is very essential. You go to the hospitals, go to the geriatric wards. Even if you can't do anything concrete, you just go and talk to those old people who have got nobody to come and talk to them. Even that goes a long way in ameliorating their psychological problems and physical too, because many of the physical problems are more imagined and they are more psychosomatic than actual, especially the older people. So, everywhere, and Shankara, his entire mission was only against the ritualists. Because the Mandana Mishra and others and Kumarala Bhatta, Prabhakara, they were all the top people in those days who advised the people, look here, there is nothing beyond it. All the various rituals, the yagas and yajnas, do Somayaga, do Ashwamedha Yajna, do Rajasuya, and you will get a beautiful palace there, it will be kept reserved for you. When we die, we will be taken there and they will say, sir, this Bangalore is yours, you enjoy yourself as much as you want. Here you need not even ring the bell. You think of food, the food will come. You think of Pudina chutney, the Pudina chutney will be there. The easiest. And you think of any particular music, no cassettes are required. The moment you think, you will find the entire place will be reverberating with your favorite music and tunes. What a beautiful time. But unfortunately, it will be limited. After the fifth day, he will say, sure, your account is yours, you go back to the wall, you have to find out one of the wounds, and you have to come back and again suffer all the hardships and all these things. What is the use of that? So, but those people were given this glowing accounts of those things. They never used to emphasize about his evanescence. That is only temporary. For a few days, again you have to come and suffer. They never bothered about it. So they said, as if that is the very ultimate thing. Every birth you come, in every birth you go. They went to that extent of saying that if only you can do 100 horse sacrifices, then you become Indra, the god of gods. And that is how, they were tempting the people to ritualism. And that is why Buddha Buddha came and he was against all the ritualism. Shankara again was against all the ritualism. He went from place to place, met all those leaders in the Karmakanda. They were known as especially Mimamsakas. Mimamsa is the name of those people who believed only in the Karmakanda, only in this ritualism. And he had to argue with them and tell them, this won't do, this cannot take you to the permanent bliss. The only way is Gyan, the only way is the real knowledge, the awareness of your real self, that alone can take you. So, Shankara, all these things were giving the importance to only Gyan. So here also he says, look here, we are talking about Atma Bodha because there is nothing else which can take you directly to your liberation. Out of all the various, yes, it is not that others won't take you, but they are all tortuous paths. It will take you a long, long time to come. And in between, we have got a monkey mind. Suddenly we will say, oh, what a nonsense, oh, this is leave it, man, let God give when He wants. And again we will revert back to our old way of life. We never know. And as is, the earlier you do it, the perseverance you will have to do it for less period, and we will be able to accomplish the task and reach our goal easily. Bodho nyasadhano bhyogi saksham mokshaika sadhanam takasya manyevadhyanam vina moksho na siddhyati. She says, compared to the various other methods, this method of self-knowledge is a direct method to attain the liberation. And there are not many direct methods. This method is the only direct method. That is why Bhagavan has also told, this who am I, that is the knowledge you are going to have. Who am I means what? That is self-knowledge, to find out about who you are. What do you mean by the self? So, Bhagavan has very clearly said that this is it is the direct path for liberation. He never said it is one of the direct paths. It is the direct path. Here also he says, moksha eka sadhanam. This is the only direct way. He says sakshat. Sakshat means direct. All the other things are indirect. They may give you, they are all steps only. So then you have to go to further steps, and ultimately you have to come to Jnana. So you start anywhere. You must start in Kundalini Yoga. You must start anywhere. But then some of the paths are so dangerous that in between there will be crocodiles and whales which will gobble you. You may never reach the end of your goal. That is why one should be careful in choosing the way, the path. The path is very, very important. Never go to the suspicious path of the modern masters who just want to encash their name and fame. And see, very clearly our Gita says, Jas Shastra Vidhi Vartate Kamakarta Nasa Siddhi Mavapnoti. Just to make you feel some sort of your body, some energy flowing into your stress. I immediately felt as if electrified. How afterwards for 4 days I was simply floating in a surplus of energy. So after going there and doing some of the things, you do not know what it is going to cost you in later days. Your entire system may completely suffer. It has happened. And not only that, people may become mad. Finally, at this moment it looked that you did some sadhasas, you had a gyration, they called it, this is a dervish method, and you will get moksha. So like a dervish you went on, everybody knows if you go on gyrating and then you will get a sort of inebriation and you will fall down, and you will say, look here, you are going to samadhi. That's all. And there are people enough to believe in all these things. So never go by the trodden paths. They are the safe paths. They are paths on which people have experimented and succeeded. Let us always choose those paths. However difficult they may prove to be, or however uneventful and unspectacular they will feel. The rest of the things may feel spectacular at that time. Oh, it has given me this, it has given me that. But that won't do. So, anya sadhanebhyaha, as compared to the other methods of spiritual practice. Sadhana means the spiritual practice. Anya means the various others. Compared to them, Bodha means this knowledge. This knowledge of the self, sakshat, directly, moksha eka sadhanam. This is a direct method for attaining moksha. This is the only direct method for attaining moksha. And he is expatiating further on it by giving you an example. Look here, you may have so many, see, when you mean sadhana, what are all the types of sadhana? There are people who say, in a Purana it is written, you go and take your bath in the Ganges, then all your papas go away, you can get moksha. See, these are all known as Arthavada. Arthavada means they are only to emphasize that you do all these things, they will in due course take you to the final goal. It doesn't mean the moment you do it, you get your moksha. Then all the fish in the Ganges, they should all be the first candidates for moksha. Then what would they? So that's not the idea behind it. That's called the Arthavada. Arthavada is almost something like an exaggerated emphasis in order to make a point. That's all. They refuse to call the meaning as exaggeration. I always feel that Arthavada means exaggeration, but they don't, because there is a grain of truth in it, no doubt, and only to make a point they are just giving an exaggerated emphasis on it. Vakasya manhivati. Supposing you want to cook some rice, you want to cook some vegetables. You wash the vegetables nicely, you cut the vegetables nicely. Well, can it cook itself by that? No. You require either some microwave, you require some gas, you require some heat, you require some fire. So without that fire, in the form of a microwave or in the form of a gas or in the form of other fuel, without finally that heat, you cannot get it cooked. Whatever may be the other things you may do, they are all only preparatory rites, but they cannot cook the rice, they cannot cook the vegetables. So he says, Pakasya vanhivati. Vanhi means the fire. Just like the fire, Pakasya. Paka means cooking. For purpose of cooking, how essential it is. In the same manner, Jnanam vina mokshaha na siddhyati. Jnanam vina. Without that final knowledge, without that awareness, without the knowledge of the self, mokshaha na siddhyati. You can never reach the goal of liberation. Na siddhyati, it will never be accomplished. Na siddhyati. Mokshaha na siddhyati. You will never be liberated from this bondage. It will continue. Again and again will be taking births. And even the birth itself is a big process, remaining for 9 months in that confined space. And the mother will be taking all the spices and all the mulagapadi for the idli, and the child will be suffering inside. So how much of the suffering we have? These are all explained in Bhagavata. The child is telling all the sufferings it was having, and prays to the Lord, please don't allow me to come down. And suddenly it finds itself, the air comes and then pushes it down, and its memory is lost. It seems till the last minute when it tries to come out, it is gone, its memory is intact. It knows all the problems it has undergone in the past births. It prays to the Lord, Lord, please let me have no more returns to this world. But then by wishing it, it cannot happen. It has done all the things necessary for a birth, and now what is the use? That is what happened. So, vina moksho na siddhyati. Then we come to the third. The question is, here he said, karma and other methods of practices, rituals, Kundalini Yoga, Ganga Snan, and doing various vows, that is, not eating properly. There is what is called the Chandrayana Vrata, Prajapatya Vrata, Krishna Vrata. See, they are all, what happens is, methods of restricting your food. You see, you start from the Amavasya day, or you start from the Purnamasya day. On that day, in the full moon day, you take 15 morsels of food. The next day you take 14 morsels. The next day you take 13. Every day you reduce one till you come to the 15th day when you take only one. Again from the next day you start 2 morsels, 3 morsels, 4 morsels. Then on the 15th day after that, again you will be able to have your 15 morsels. This is called the Chandrayana Vrata. And whenever we have done some wrong deeds, some papas and sins, these are all considered as one of the expiatory rites. And many people think that these all form the tapasya. If I don't eat for 4 days in a week, I will get moksha. Moksha has nothing to do with your food. Yes, they are all required in the process for cleansing your mind and various other things, for concentrating on the Lord. Yes, they do form some, but they have got no direct connection with it at all. Now the question comes, why do you say, there are many people who are saying, oh, the Gita is talking about karma yoga. Even a man like Arjuna has been told that karma is important, you should do karma. There is one thing that people forget. All these books are not meant for the people alone. It is meant for a particular context, for a particular person. So again, if at all, it can be applicable only to such a type of person. As I said, the entire Hindu philosophy is based on the classification of people according to their deservedness. So similarly, why can't I do karma? I have seen many people advocating that karma alone can take you to moksha. So what is it that prevents the karma from giving us moksha? Why can't the rituals give? Because they say rituals can give so many things. People who don't have children, they perform what is called putra kameti yajna, and then they get children. So there are ever so many things which can be obtained. If there is a person who is having serious ailments and no doctor is able to diagnose, so he does what is called the Mrityunjaya Homa, and he becomes cured. Or he does Dhanvantari Homa, he gets cured. So when all these things happen, it is likely, it is very possible that it could give you moksha also. Why not? Why can't it give? What is the logic behind it? Now, he is explaining the logic behind it in order to satisfy the so-called intelligentsia who are after ritualism. Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet vidya vidyam nihantyeva edastimira sanghavatu. You see, if your karma is to end your ignorance, when do you get moksha? Liberation means liberation from the ignorance. The ignorance of limitation, the ignorance which limits you. See, the objects limit you, and the time limits you, the place limits you, desha, kala, vastu. All these things are limiting you at every time because of the upadhis. What are the upadhis? Upadhis means these external adjuncts like the bodies, because you are always identifying yourself with the body. See, the electricity which comes into the 0 watt, it is not 0 watt. It is the same electricity which also goes inside the 1000 watt. So what is the wattage of that electricity which comes? The wattage is infinite. But then, due to certain conditioning, the samskara in the bulb, one is able to absorb the entire light and gives out so little, then you call it the 0 watt bulb. There is nothing called the 0 watt electricity. There is only one wire through which that electricity is coming. And it goes with 1000 watt, it makes it brilliant. And it goes with 200 watt, it makes it a mediocre brilliant. And then it lends a very little of light in the 0 watt light. So there is nothing called the 0 watt electricity. Electricity by itself is infinite. So here he says, whatever is the opposite of it. Now, if you want to remove darkness, if you bring some more darkness, say if some clouds come further and a shadow comes, is it going to remove the darkness? The darkness will become denser still. So on the contrary, you should bring something which is exactly opposite to it, which is antagonistic to it in its characteristics. For example, if you want to dispel darkness, bring a torch or bring a Petronas light. So it is light which will be able to dispel darkness. So in the same way, what happens is, you just see how does action take place, karma, rituals. Any ritual is an action. So how does this action take place? Why do you do a karma? Why do you do a yaga? Well, I want the heavens. Why do you want the heavens? My mind says I should have unlimited pleasures, and that is what I want. So where from this desire has come? The desire has come from your computer mind, which contains such vasanas of the luxuries which had enjoyed in our previous birth, all those impressions are embedded there. It is they which provoke you to go into the direction of further such pleasures. So as such, it is the ignorance which is the base of it. Because of your ignorance, you think that these are all various other things. The various types of pleasures are all different things. You think the rasagulla is a different thing. You think that idli is a different thing. You think that my grandson is a different thing. Finally, if you know nothing exists except the self, all these are all appearances. Who will go after these appearances? Supposing during a dream you got a nice pizza, will you be interested in telling, I would like to have 2 more pizzas? Why don't you know it's a dream pizza, man? So what does it matter whether you take 3 or 4? It's all false. If it's a real pizza, well, I would like to have 3 or 4 more, but not the dream pizza. So the entire thing is the karmas, they come out of desires, and the desires are all out of vasanas only, and all these vasanas are due to your ignorance as to who you are, and you think that these are all separate items to be enjoyed by you. Finally, when you know that all these things are all appearances, I am alone the truth, and I am always full, I can create lakhs of such things, then why should I bother? So, every action is a grandson of ignorance. So as such, how can it kill ignorance? It is also of the same lineage as ignorance. So as such, ignorance cannot kill ignorance. Both belong to the similar category only, and as such, that cannot. Then what can? It is vidya which can annihilate avidya. It is only the vritti jnana, it is only the knowledge, it is only the light of knowledge which can dispel the darkness of ignorance. So we will see tomorrow the rest of the things.